The stars looked different from the bridge of the UES horizon. Lisa Martinez stood at attention behind Captain Jake Sullivan, watching the alien world grow larger on the main screen. After 3 months in deep space, they had finally reached Kepler, 442b. The planet looked beautiful with its blue oceans and green continents. "Steady as she goes," Captain Sullivan said to the pilot. His voice was calm, but Lisa could see the tension in his shoulders. This was humanity's first trip to another star system, and they had found intelligent life. Dr. Alex Thompson pushed his glasses up his nose and stared at the readings on his tablet. "The atmospheric composition is perfect for us," he said excitedly. "And those energy signatures are definitely artificial. There's a civilization down there." Lisa checked her sidearm for the 10th time that morning. As head of ship security, she was responsible for protecting the diplomatic team. The crew of 43 people were all depending on her if things went wrong. "Any word from the aliens?" asked Katie Roberts from the engineering station. She had been monitoring all frequencies for 3 days. Communications officer Danny Foster shook his head. "Nothing yet, but our translation computer is ready. If they use any kind of mathematical or pictorial language, we should be able to talk to them." The landing party consisted of 8 people. Captain Sullivan would lead the group. Dr. Thompson would handle first contact protocols. Lisa would bring 2 security officers, while Katie and Danny would monitor communications and technology. "Take us down to those coordinates," Captain Sullivan ordered. "Nice and slow. We don't want to seem threatening." The shuttle bay was busy as they prepared to launch. Lisa strapped on her combat gear, including body armor and a pulse rifle. She hoped she wouldn't need the weapons, but 3 months of military training had taught her to be ready for anything. "Remember," Dr. Thompson said as they boarded the shuttle, "this is the most important moment in human history. How we handle this first meeting will determine humanity's future in the galaxy." The shuttle descended through the atmosphere smoothly. The alien city came into view as they broke through the clouds. Tall spires reached toward the sky, made from some kind of white metal that reflected the sunlight. Ships moved between the buildings, but they looked nothing like human aircraft. "Setting down in the designated area," announced the pilot. "Looks like we have a welcoming committee." Through the shuttle windows, Lisa could see them waiting. The aliens were tall, maybe 7 feet, with scaled skin that reflected green and gold in the sunlight. They stood upright like humans, but moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost reptilian. There were 6 of them, arranged in what looked like a formal greeting formation. "Here we go," Captain Sullivan said, adjusting his dress uniform. "Remember, everyone follows my lead. Lisa, keep your weapons visible but not threatening." They walked down the shuttle ramp slowly. The alien world smelled different, cleaner somehow, with a hint of something floral in the air. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth normal. The lead alien stepped forward. It was larger than the others, with more elaborate markings on its scales. When it spoke, the words came out as a series of clicks and whistles, but Lisa's translation device immediately converted them to English. "Welcome, beings from the distant star. I am Krath, speaker for the Vrex people. We greet you in the name of order and proper hierarchy." Dr. Thompson stepped forward eagerly. "We are honored to meet you, Speaker Krath. I am Dr. Alex Thompson, representing the people of Earth. We come in peace, seeking friendship and understanding between our species." Krath's large eyes studied the humans carefully. "Your species is unknown to us. Before we can proceed, you must submit to the testing of proper place. This is the way of civilized beings throughout the galaxy." "Testing?" Captain Sullivan asked. "What kind of testing?" "The strong lead, the weak follow. This has been the order since the first star children learned to travel between worlds. You will submit to demonstration of your place in the natural hierarchy." Lisa didn't like the sound of that, but Dr. Thompson seemed excited. "A cultural ritual. Of course, we're happy to participate in your customs. How do we begin?" Krath moved closer to the humans. The other aliens spread out in a circle around them. Lisa's hand moved instinctively toward her sidearm, but she stopped herself. "This was supposed to be a peaceful meeting. The demonstration is simple," Krath explained. "I will place my hand upon you to show dominance. You will submit to show acceptance of your lesser position. Then we may speak as civilized beings." I'm not sure that's appropriate," Captain Sullivan started to say. But Krath was already moving. The alien leader reached out with surprising speed and grabbed Lisa's shoulder with a grip like iron. The touch was clearly meant to hurt. to force her to kneel or cry out in submission. Lisa's marine training kicked in before her brain could process what was happening. 3 months of combat drills and muscle memory took over. She twisted away from the grip, used Krath's own momentum against him, and drove her elbow up into the alien's collar area with precise force. The snap of breaking bone was loud in the suddenly quiet clearing. Krath stumbled backward, clutching his shoulder and making a sound like a wounded animal. Purple blood leaked between his fingers. The other Vreks immediately raised weapons that had been hidden under their robes. "Wait," Dr. Thompson shouted. "This is a misunderstanding." But the damage was done. Krath's eyes burned with rage and something else. Surprise. "No species has ever resisted the dominance testing," he gasped. "You are not what you appear to be." "We didn't know," Captain Sullivan said, raising his hands peacefully. "Our cultures are different. We meant no offense." "Offense?" Krath laughed, but it sounded bitter. "You have shown us something impossible. A species that fights back against natural order. The Council must know of this immediately." The Vreks began backing away toward their ships, weapons still trained on the humans. "Return to your vessel," Krath commanded. "Do not follow us. Do not attempt further contact. The galaxy will decide what to do with your kind." As the alien ships lifted off and disappeared into the sky, Lisa realized what she had done. Her simple defensive action had just changed everything. The peaceful first contact that humanity had dreamed of was over before it had really begun. "Well," Captain Sullivan said quietly, "I guess we're not making friends today." Dr. Thompson stared at the spot where the aliens had been. "They mentioned a council. There's some kind of galactic government out there, and I think we just made them very nervous." Lisa looked up at the alien sky, knowing that somewhere up there, the Vreks were sending messages about the dangerous new species they had encountered. The species that fought back when they were supposed to submit. Humanity was about to learn they were not alone in the universe. They were also about to learn that the universe had rules they had never agreed to follow. The command center aboard the Vreks flagship buzzed with activity. Krath sat in the medical bay, his broken shoulder wrapped in healing foam, while his officers debated what they had witnessed on the planet below. "It is impossible," insisted Sub-Commander Vex, pacing back and forth. "No species resists the dominance testing. In 500 years of space travel, every intelligent race has submitted properly." Krath winced as the medical device adjusted his shoulder. "I felt the human female's strength. She moved faster than our combat training prepared us for. These beings are not what they appear to be." "Perhaps they are a warrior species," suggested Navigation Officer Zeth. "Like the old stories of the Corvin before they joined civilized society." "Worse," Krath said darkly. "The Corvin were predictable. These humans hide their nature behind peaceful words while striking without warning. They are dangerous." On the bridge, Communications Officer Yill was already sending urgent messages across the galaxy. The quantum transmission would reach the Galactic Council within hours. Every member species would know about the human threat before the day was over. Meanwhile, aboard the UES Horizon, the crew was trying to understand what had gone wrong. Captain Sullivan called an emergency meeting in the main conference room. "Let's review what we know," he said to the assembled officers. "Dr. Thompson, what's your analysis of the encounter?" Dr. Thompson removed his glasses and cleaned them nervously. "The Vreks have a ritual called dominance testing. From what I could understand, it's how they establish social hierarchy with new species." When Krath grabbed Lisa, he expected her to submit. "Submit how?" asked Engineering Chief Katie Roberts. "Probably kneel, show pain, or otherwise demonstrate acceptance of inferior status," Dr. Thompson explained. Instead, Lisa fought back and injured their leader. Lisa sat quietly at the far end of the table. She had been replaying the moment over and over in her mind. "I didn't think," she said finally. "Someone grabbed me aggressively and I reacted. It was pure reflex." "You did your job," Captain Sullivan assured her. "But now we need to figure out what comes next. Danny, any response to our communication attempts?" Communications Officer Danny Foster shook his head. "Nothing. They're not even acknowledging our transmissions, but I'm picking up a lot of traffic between their ships and something out in deep space." "They're talking to someone," Katie observed, "probably reporting back to their government." Dr. Thompson leaned forward. "They mentioned something called the Council. It sounds like there's some kind of galactic authority that governs multiple species." "Great," Captain Sullivan muttered. So instead of making one enemy, we might have made dozens. The answer came sooner than expected. Long-range sensors detected multiple ships approaching their position. Not just Rex vessels, but craft of completely different designs. Within 6 hours, a small fleet had assembled around Kepler 442b. Incoming transmission, Danny announced. It's not from the Vrex. The main screen flickered to life, showing a new alien face. This one was pale blue with large dark eyes and what looked like gills along its neck. When it spoke, the voice was calm but firm. Human vessel, I am Ambassador Zenth of the Altarian Diplomatic Corps, speaking for the Galactic Council. You have committed an act of aggression against a Council member species. Prepare to be boarded for safety assessment. Captain Sullivan stood up straighter. Ambassador Zenth, I'm Captain Jake Sullivan of the United Earthship Horizon. We committed no act of aggression. There was a cultural misunderstanding during first contact protocols. Your security officer's assault on Speaker Krath was witnessed by multiple observers. Zenth replied, such violence against a peaceful greeting cannot be overlooked. You will surrender your weapons and submit to Council authority for the safety of all galactic citizens. We're not surrendering anything, Captain Sullivan said firmly. We're a peaceful exploration vessel from Earth. We have the right to defend ourselves. Earth is not a recognized member of galactic civilization, Zenth stated. Your species has demonstrated hostile tendencies and must be contained until proper evaluation can be conducted. The transmission ended abruptly. Captain Sullivan turned to his crew. Battle stations. All hands prepare for possible combat. Lisa felt her stomach drop. Sir, we're not equipped for a fight. This is a science vessel. Then we better get creative fast, Katie said, already heading for the engineering section. I'll see what I can do to boost our defensive systems. Dr. Thompson looked horrified. Captain, surely we can negotiate. This is all based on a misunderstanding. Tell that to them, Captain Sullivan replied, watching as the alien ships began to surround the horizon. Danny, send a message back to Earth. Full report on our situation. They need to know what's out here. The alien fleet moved with coordinated precision. There were 12 ships of various sizes and designs, representing at least 4 different species. The humans were clearly outmatched in both numbers and technology. They're powering up weapons, reported Tactical Officer Ben Lewis from his station. Energy readings are off the charts. Evasive maneuvers, Captain Sullivan ordered. Get us out of here. The Horizon's engines roared to life, pushing the ship away from the planet. But the alien vessels were faster and quickly moved to intercept. Warning shots from energy weapons flashed past the human ship's hull. They're trying to disable our engines. Katie's voice came over the comm from engineering. If they hit us with those energy beams, we're dead in space. Lisa made her way to the weapons control station. The Horizon wasn't a warship, but it had basic defensive capabilities. Captain requesting permission to return fire. Do it, Captain Sullivan said grimly. We're not going down without a fight. The human ship's weapons were primitive compared to the alien technology, but they caught the Council fleet by surprise. The aliens had expected easy submission, not resistance from what they considered a backward species. Lisa targeted the nearest ship's weapon systems, hoping to even the odds slightly. Her shots were accurate, and the alien vessel's weapons went dark. One down, she reported, but more ships were closing in. The Horizon shook under impact from enemy fire. Sparks flew from damaged control panels and the lights flickered. Hull breach on Deck 3, Katie reported. Emergency force fields are holding, but we can't take much more of this. Captain Sullivan made a command decision that would change everything. Prepare for emergency jump. Plot a course for Earth, maximum speed. Sir, we've never made an interstellar jump this close to a planet, the navigator warned. The gravitational effects could tear us apart. Better than surrendering to aliens who think we're dangerous criminals, Captain Sullivan replied. Do it. The Horizon's experimental faster-than-light drive engaged with a sound like tearing fabric. Space twisted around the ship as it jumped away from the battle, leaving the confused alien fleet behind. As they traveled through the strange dimension of hyperspace, Captain Sullivan addressed his crew. When we get back to Earth, everything changes. Humanity is no longer alone, and apparently we're not welcome in galactic society. Lisa stared out at the swirling colors of hyperspace. Her split-second defensive action had started something that none of them could have predicted. Earth was about to learn that the universe was full of intelligent life, and most of it thought humans were a threat. The peaceful age of human civilization was over. What came next would test everything humanity thought it knew about survival. Diplomacy and the right to exist among the stars. Behind them, the Galactic Council fleet was already sending messages throughout the galaxy. A new species had appeared, one that fought back against the natural order. They called themselves humans, and they were dangerous. The hunt for Earth had begun. The emergency session of the United Nations lasted 18 hours. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat in stunned silence as Captain Sullivan finished his report. The room was so quiet that the air conditioning seemed loud. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," said Secretary General Maria Santos. "There's a galactic government out there and they think we're criminals because our Marine defended herself?" "That's correct, ma'am," Captain Sullivan confirmed. "They have superior technology and seem to control multiple star systems. They consider us a threat to galactic peace." General Patricia Hayes stood up from the military advisory section. She was a tall woman with gray hair and steel in her eyes. "How long before they find Earth?" Dr. Thompson consulted his notes. "Based on their technology, they could track our hyperspace signature. Maybe weeks, maybe months, but they will find us. Then we need to be ready," General Hayes said firmly. "I recommend immediate mobilization of all military forces and acceleration of our space program." The Brazilian representative raised his hand. "Are we seriously considering fighting aliens with technology centuries ahead of ours?" "We're considering defending our planet," General Hayes replied, "because the alternative is surrendering to beings who already think we're dangerous. What do you think happens to dangerous species in their galactic order?" The vote was unanimous. Earth would prepare for war. Within days, the planet transformed. Factories that had been making cars and appliances switched to producing spacecraft and weapons. Dr. Ryan Clark, the world's leading physicist, was put in charge of a crash program to reverse engineer the alien technology they had recorded during the encounter. Lisa found herself promoted to colonel and assigned to train the first generation of Space Marines. The training facility in Nevada worked around the clock as volunteers from every military on Earth learned to fight in zero gravity. "The aliens are stronger than us," Lisa explained to a group of new recruits. "They're taller, they have better technology, and they've been doing this for centuries. But they have one weakness." A young Marine from Germany raised his hand. "What's that, Colonel?" "They've never fought anyone who fought back," Lisa said with a grim smile. "For 500 years, every species they've met has submitted to their dominance testing. They expect us to kneel and obey. Instead, we're going to show them what humans do when someone tries to make us kneel." The training was brutal. Marines learned to fight in spacesuits, to use zero gravity as an advantage, and to turn everyday objects into weapons. Lisa taught them that human unpredictability was their greatest asset. Meanwhile, Dr. Clark's team worked miracles in the underground laboratories. The alien energy readings they had recorded provided clues to new forms of propulsion and weaponry. Engineer Ben Lewis, who had served on the Horizon, helped design new spacecraft based on human military principles rather than alien expectations. "They build their ships like flying fortresses," Ben explained to the design team. "Lots of armor, powerful weapons, but they're slow to maneuver. We're going to build fighters, fast, agile, and designed to hit and run." The first prototype rolled out of the factory 6 weeks after the Horizon's return. It looked nothing like the elegant alien vessels. The human fighter was angular, aggressive, and built for war. They called it the Falcon, and it could outmaneuver anything the aliens had shown them. Pilot Commander Nick Carter was the first to test the new fighter in actual combat conditions. He was a former Air Force pilot with steady nerves and quick reflexes. "She handles like a dream," he reported after his first flight. "Fast, responsive, and the new weapons pack a real punch." The weapons were Dr. Clark's greatest achievement. By studying the energy patterns from alien ships, his team had developed projectile weapons that could penetrate alien shields. They weren't as powerful as alien energy beams, but they were completely unexpected. "Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons," Dr. Clark explained to General Hayes. "They deflect lasers and particle beams perfectly, but nobody told their shields about good old-fashioned bullets traveling at 10% of light speed." The aliens arrived 2 months after the Horizon's return. Long-range sensors detected the fleet while it was still beyond Pluto's orbit. 50 ships of various designs led by a massive vessel that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. General Hayes, now commanding the Terran Defense Force, stood in the war room deep beneath Colorado. Banks of monitors showed the approaching alien fleet and the scattered human forces preparing to meet them. "They're not hiding their approach," observed Admiral Scott Parker, the newly appointed commander of Earth's space forces. "They expect us to surrender when we see how outgunned we are." "Let them think that," General Hayes replied. "All units maintain radio silence until they reach the asteroid belt. Then we show them what humans are really capable of." The alien fleet moved through the solar system with confidence. Their commander, war leader Vorth of the Corvin species, had crushed dozens of rebellious worlds. These humans would be no different from the others who had challenged Council authority. "Transmit surrender demands," Vorth ordered as his fleet approached Mars. "Tell them they have one chance to submit peacefully." The human response came from Admiral Parker himself. "This is Admiral Scott Parker of the Terran Defense Force. You are not welcome in our system. Leave now or we will remove you." Vorth laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Primitive species always threaten before they grovel. Begin the attack. Target their industrial centers first. We will break their spirit before we break their cities." The alien ships accelerated toward Earth, but they never reached it. As they passed through the asteroid belt, the rocks around them came alive. Hidden among the asteroids were hundreds of human fighters and converted civilian ships. Miners who had spent their lives working in space now piloted weapon-laden mining vessels. Cargo ships had been turned into missile platforms. Even tourist shuttles carried bombs and desperate volunteers. Nick Carter led the first wave of attacks. His Falcon fighter streaked out from behind a tumbling asteroid, weapons blazing. The high-velocity projectiles punched through alien shields like they weren't there, tearing into hull plating. "All units, engage." Admiral Parker's voice echoed across the human fleet. "Show them what happens when you threaten Earth." The aliens were caught completely off guard. Their sensors hadn't detected the human ships hiding among the asteroids. Their shields were useless against the primitive but effective kinetic weapons. Most shocking of all, the humans weren't retreating. Vorth watched in disbelief as a converted mining ship rammed his flagship's escort destroyer. The human vessel was destroyed in the collision, but it took the alien ship with it. "They are fighting to the death," he reported to his officers. "These humans prefer destruction to submission." The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships darted between asteroids, using their knowledge of the local terrain to outmaneuver the larger alien vessels. When a human fighter was damaged, its pilot would often ram the nearest enemy ship rather than be captured. Dr. Clark's weapons proved their worth again and again. Alien ships that should have been invulnerable found their hulls punctured by streams of hypervelocity projectiles. Their energy shields flickered and failed under sustained bombardment from weapons they had never been designed to stop. Lisa led a boarding action on a disabled alien cruiser. Her Marines moved through the ship's corridors with deadly efficiency, using their smaller size and human agility to outfight the larger aliens in close combat. "Their armor is strong," she reported over the comm, "but it's designed for energy weapons. Combat knives work just fine." By the end of the battle, the alien fleet was in full retreat. Half their ships were destroyed or disabled, and the survivors were fleeing toward the edge of the solar system. Vorth's flagship limped away with a dozen holes in its hull and its weapons offline. "Impossible," Vorth muttered as his ship jumped to hyperspace. "No species has ever defeated a Council fleet. These humans fight like demons." In the asteroid belt, the human survivors counted their losses. Nearly 60% of their ships were gone, but they had won. Earth was safe, at least for now. General Hayes received the report in the command bunker. "Casualties?" she asked quietly. "Heavy," Admiral Parker replied. "But we stopped them. They know now that humans don't surrender easily." Lisa floated in her damaged fighter, looking out at the debris field that had been a battle. Around her, human ships were already beginning rescue operations, pulling survivors from the wreckage. She thought about the moment that had started all this, her instinctive reaction to being grabbed by an alien. That single movement had led to war, but it had also shown the galaxy something important. Humans would not kneel. They would not submit to dominance. And if you tried to make them, they would fight back with everything they had. The war was just beginning. But humanity had sent a message that would echo across the stars. Earth was defended, and the defenders were not afraid to die for their freedom. 3 months after the Battle of the Asteroid Belt, Captain Maya Rodriguez piloted the UES Defiance through the outer edges of the Tau Ceti system. The Defiance was humanity's first purpose-built warship, armed with Dr. Clark's improved weapons and protected by armor designed from salvaged alien technology. "Contact ahead," reported Sensor Officer Emma Green from her station. "Unknown ship design, but it's not matching any council patterns in our database." Maya studied the readings carefully. Since the battle, human ships had been exploring nearby systems, looking for allies and gathering intelligence on the Galactic Council. So far, they had found only empty worlds and the wreckage of long-dead civilizations. "They're hailing us," reported Communications Officer Danny Foster, who had requested transfer to the Defiance after the Horizon incident. "The signal is strange. It's not using Council communication protocols." "Put it through," Maya ordered. The face that appeared on the screen was unlike anything they had encountered. The being had pale, almost translucent skin and large eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. When it spoke, the voice was soft but carried authority. "Human vessel, I am Sage Quinn of the Thek Resistance. We have been watching your species with great interest. Your victory over the Council fleet has given hope to many who thought freedom was impossible." Maya leaned forward in her command chair. "Resistance? You're fighting the Galactic Council too?" "For over 2,000 years, Quinn confirmed. The Council was not always the oppressive force it has become. Once it truly did maintain peace among the stars. But power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, as one of your human philosophers once said. Dr. Thompson, who was serving as the Defiance's cultural liaison, stepped forward excitedly. "You know human philosophy? We know many things about species that the Council has contained," Quinn replied sadly. "Your people are not the first to resist their dominance testing, but you are the first to survive it." Emma looked up from her sensors. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple ships approaching. Different designs, but they're moving in formation with the Thek vessel." "Do not be alarmed," Quinn said. "These are our allies, species that have chosen freedom over the false peace of Council submission. We would like to propose an alliance." The ships that appeared were unlike anything in the human databases. One looked like it was grown rather than built, with organic curves and bioluminescent markings. Another seemed to be made entirely of a crystalline material that reflected light in impossible ways. "I am Commander Reef of the Delaney," said a new voice, as an aquatic alien appeared on the screen. The being had gills and what looked like fins along its arms. "My people live in the deep oceans of a dozen worlds. The Council tried to force us to give up our traditional ways and live only on approved planets." A third alien joined the conversation. This one was insectoid with multiple arms and compound eyes. "I speak for the Kittic Collective," it said in a buzzing voice. "We are many minds working as one. The Council fears our unity and seeks to divide us into individual consciousness for easier control." Maya felt a surge of hope for the first time since the war began. "How many species are in this resistance?" "Fewer than we would like," Quinn admitted. "The Council has been very effective at making examples of those who resist. But your victory has changed things. Other species are beginning to believe that the Council can be defeated." Dr. Thompson was taking notes furiously. "What can you tell us about the Council's structure? We need to understand what we're really fighting." Sage Quinn's expression grew dark. "The Council presents itself as a democracy of equals, but this is a lie. At its core are 5 species that control all others. The Vrex, whom you have met, serve as enforcers. The Altarians provide diplomatic cover. The Corvin lead their military forces." "And the other 2? Maya asked. "The Nixari control information and technology," Commander Reef explained. "They ensure that subject species never develop weapons that could threaten Council authority. And the Zenthi manage the economic systems that keep everyone dependent on Council resources." The insectoid Cheetic representative clicked its mandibles in what might have been anger. "Every species in Council space must surrender their military technology when they join. They are told it is for the greater peace. In truth, it is for greater control." Emma studied the intelligence data they were receiving. "According to this, there are over 300 species under Council control. How do 5 species dominate so many?" "By never allowing them to unite," Quinn said simply. "The Council carefully manages which species interact with each other. They prevent alliances that might threaten their authority. Most species never realize how many others share their resentment. Maya made a decision that would change the course of the war. We want to join your resistance." But we need to know everything. Council military strength, the location of their homeworlds, and how many other species might be willing to fight. That information will cost much, Commander Reef warned. The Council will not ignore an open alliance between our species and yours. They will come for all of us with everything they have. They were coming for us anyway, Maya replied grimly. At least this way, we won't be facing them alone. The alliance was formalized over the next several days. Human engineers worked with tech scientists to improve both species' technology. Delaney tactics specialists taught human marines how to fight in aquatic environments. The Shitik shared their collective coordination techniques with human fleet commanders. Most importantly, the aliens taught humans about galactic history. Dr. Thompson learned about dozens of species that had been conquered or destroyed by the Council over the centuries. Entire civilizations had been erased for the crime of wanting to remain independent. The Gorvani were master builders, Quinn explained as they reviewed historical records. They created wonders that lasted for millennia. The Council decided their architecture was inefficient and forced them to rebuild their cities according to Council standards. When they refused, their homeworld was sterilized. Lisa, who had been promoted to general and was overseeing joint military training, felt sick as she learned about the Council's true nature. How many species have they destroyed? We estimate at least 50 over the past 1,000 years, Commander Reef replied. Always with an excuse. They were aggressive or unstable, or refused to evolve beyond primitive thinking. The truth is that they were simply too independent to control. The training exercises revealed how much the different species could learn from each other. Human creativity and adaptability combined well with Thek wisdom and patience. Delani agility complemented Chitik coordination. Together, they began developing new tactics that no single species could have imagined. The Council's biggest weakness is that they fight the same way every time, observed tactical specialist Ben Lewis during a strategy session. They use overwhelming force to crush resistance quickly. They've never faced an enemy that could adapt and change tactics. Dr. Clark's research team made breakthrough after breakthrough as they studied alien technology with help from their new allies. The Thek had been developing weapons in secret for centuries. The Delani had created stealth systems based on deep ocean hunting techniques. The Chitik had network communication technology that could coordinate thousands of ships simultaneously. But the greatest revelation came when Sage Quinn showed them the location of the Council's true center of power. Nexus Prime, Quinn said, indicating a star system deep in Council space. It is where the 5 ruling species maintain their government. Every important decision is made there. Every military campaign is planned there. If we could strike at Nexus Prime, we could cut the head off the snake, Maya finished. But it's got to be the most heavily defended place in the galaxy. It is, Commander Reef confirmed. Hundreds of ships, orbital defense platforms, and planetary shields. No force has ever successfully attacked it. General Hayes joined the conversation via quantum communication from Earth. Then we'll have to be the first. How long do we have before the Council responds to our alliance? Not long, Quinn admitted. Our intelligence sources report massive fleet movements throughout Council space. They are gathering ships from every sector for what they call the final pacification of the human threat. Emma looked up from her analysis of the Council fleet movements. According to these numbers, they're assembling over 1,000 ships. That's 10 times what we faced in the asteroid belt. The room fell silent as everyone contemplated those odds. Even with their new allies, the combined resistance fleet numbered less than 200 ships. Then we better make sure we're ready, Maya said finally. Because ready or not, the biggest battle in galactic history is coming. And this time, it's not just about Earth's freedom. It's about the freedom of every species in the galaxy. Lisa stood up and looked around the room at the faces of humans and aliens united by a common cause. The Council thinks they know how this ends. They think their superior numbers and technology guarantee victory, but they're about to learn something about the species they've been oppressing for centuries. What's that? Asked Commander Reef. Lisa smiled grimly. That sometimes the desire for freedom is stronger than any weapon. And when people have nothing left to lose, The largest fleet in galactic history approached Nexus Prime like a storm of metal and energy. Over 1,200 Council ships moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the light of the system's twin stars. War Leader Vorth commanded from the massive dreadnought Eternal Order. confident that this time there would be no escape for the human rebels and their foolish allies. "Final approach to the resistance fleet," reported his tactical officer. "They appear to be holding position near the outer planets." Forth studied the enemy formation with satisfaction. Less than 300 ships opposed him, a mix of human vessels and the obsolete craft of the resistance species. "They know they cannot win," he said. "They have come here to die with honor rather than face slow execution. I almost respect their choice." But Admiral Scott Parker, commanding the human fleet from the bridge of the massive new ship UES Liberty, had no intention of dying honorably. The Liberty was humanity's first dreadnought, built with alien technology and human engineering. More importantly, it carried a weapon that Dr. Clark had spent months perfecting. "All ships maintain formation," Parker ordered over the fleet communication system. "Remember, this isn't about winning a fair fight. This is about ending the Council's reign of terror once and for all." Captain Maya Rodriguez piloted the Defiance in the front line, alongside Sage Quinn's Thek cruiser and Commander Reef's bioship. The Alliance fleet looked small compared to the Council armada, but appearances could be deceiving. "Phase 1 begins in 30 seconds, Maya announced. "All stealth ships prepare for insertion." Hidden throughout the outer system, dozens of small human and Delaney vessels activated their cloaking devices. They had been waiting in the cold darkness between planets for 2 days, invisible to Council sensors. Now they began moving toward their targets. The first explosions came from the Council's rear guard. Cloaked ships emerged from the void to strike at fuel tankers and supply vessels before vanishing again into the darkness. The precision attacks created chaos in the Council formation as ships tried to protect themselves from invisible enemies. "Impossible," Forth snarled. "Our sensors show nothing." "How are they hiding entire fleets?" His science officer checked her instruments frantically. "The stealth technology is unlike anything in our databases. It appears to bend sensor waves around their hulls completely." Dr. Clark's innovations had paid off. By combining human understanding of physics with Delaney biotechnology and Thek energy manipulation, they had created stealth systems that Council science couldn't detect. "All ships, engage," Admiral Parker commanded. The Alliance fleet charged forward with tactics no Council commander had ever seen. Instead of forming rigid battle lines, the human ships moved in small groups that supported each other while remaining unpredictable. Thek vessels used their advanced shields to protect faster human fighters. Delaney bioships regenerated damage that would have crippled metal hulls. Shi'tic coordination allowed hundreds of ships to move as one organism. But the real surprise came when the Liberty opened fire with its main weapon. Dr. Clark had discovered that the exotic matter used in alien power cores could be destabilized in a controlled chain reaction. The result was a beam that tore through energy shields and armor like they were paper. "Direct hit on the Council flagship," reported Weapons Officer Ben Lewis from the Liberty's bridge. "Their shields are down and hull integrity is failing." Vorth watched in disbelief as his supposedly invincible dreadnought shook under impacts from primitive human weapons. "How are they penetrating our defenses?" "Unknown, war leader," his tactical officer replied. "Their technology should not be capable of this level of destruction." The battle raged across the entire system. Council ships found themselves fighting enemies that refused to follow the established rules of space combat. Human fighters used asteroids as shields and turned debris into weapons. Alien allies employed tactics that the Council had never encountered because they had spent centuries suppressing innovation. But the real turning point came when other species began to join the fight. Admiral Parker came a transmission on an open frequency. "This is Captain Yex of the Vrex vessel Honor's Edge. My crew requests permission to join your fleet." Parker couldn't hide his surprise. "You're switching sides?" "The Council has lied to us about the nature of this war," Captain Yex replied. "We believed we were fighting dangerous aggressors. Now we see that we were the aggressors all along. The Vrex were once a proud warrior people. It is time we remembered what honor truly means." Similar transmissions came from ships throughout the Council fleet. Altarian vessels, Corvan destroyers, even some Nexari cruisers began turning their weapons against their former allies. The revelation that the Council had been manipulating them for centuries shattered the loyalty of species that had believed they were serving a righteous cause. "Impossible." Forth raged as his own fleet began to fragment. The conditioning should prevent this level of rebellion. The conditioning was based on fear and ignorance. Sage Quinn said, his voice broadcast across all frequencies. Fear of punishment for disobedience and ignorance of the truth about council oppression. But fear fades when beings see others standing up for freedom, and ignorance dies when truth is revealed. The space around Nexus Prime became a chaotic swirl of ships as former allies became enemies, and enemies became friends. The rigid council formation collapsed into dozens of smaller battles as individual ship commanders chose sides. General Lisa Martinez led the ground assault on Nexus Prime itself. Her Marines, supported by Kitik warriors and tech technicians, fought their way through the orbital defenses to land on the planet's surface. The capital city was a marvel of architecture from dozens of different species, but it was also a fortress designed to repel any attack. Move fast, Lisa ordered her troops as they advanced through the city streets. The longer this takes, the more time they have to destroy evidence of their crimes. The fighting was brutal. Council security forces made their last stand in the government complex, using their superior technology and knowledge of the terrain. But human adaptability and alien support proved decisive. Delani troops used their aquatic training to navigate the city's canal system. Cheetic forces coordinated their attacks with inhuman precision. The climactic moment came in the council chambers themselves. Lisa faced war leader Vorth in single combat while the battle raged around them. Vorth was larger and stronger, with centuries of combat experience. But Lisa had something he didn't understand. "You fight for conquest," she told him as they circled each other in the vast chamber. "I fight for freedom. That's the difference between us." Their battle was broadcast across the galaxy by Commander Reef's technical team. Every species under Council control watched as a human Marine faced the symbol of Council military might. When Lisa finally defeated Vorth, using his own strength against him in a move that echoed their first encounter months ago, the message was clear. The Council could be beaten. The age of submission was over. The aftermath of the Battle of Nexus Prime reshaped galactic civilization. The Council's authoritarian structure collapsed as member species declared their independence. The 5 ruling species found themselves isolated and powerless as their former subjects chose freedom over security. 6 months later, representatives from over 200 species gathered on a neutral world to establish a new form of galactic government. The Free Galactic Alliance was founded on principles that would have been impossible under Council rule. Voluntary membership, mutual respect, and the right of every species to determine its own destiny. Lisa stood in the assembly hall, wearing her new uniform as the Alliance's first director of defense. The irony wasn't lost on her that the woman whose reflexive action had started an interstellar war was now responsible for keeping the peace. "The galaxy is a big place," she said in her acceptance speech. "Big enough for all of us to find our own way among the stars. The Alliance exists not to control or dominate, but to help and protect. Any species that threatens the freedom of others will face our combined response. But any species that seeks only to live in peace will find friends and allies." Dr. Thompson, now head of the Interspecies Cultural Exchange Program, worked to prevent future misunderstandings like the one that had started the war. His first rule was simple: no more dominance testing. All species would be treated as equals regardless of their size, technology, or military strength. Captain Maya Rodriguez commanded the Alliance's first joint exploration mission, with crews from a dozen different species working together to map unknown regions of the galaxy. The diversity that the Council had seen as a threat became the Alliance's greatest strength. The final scene took place on Earth, in the same Nevada training facility where Lisa had first taught humans to fight in space. But now the students included beings from across the galaxy, learning not just combat techniques but the principles of defensive warfare. "Remember," Lisa told a class of mixed human and alien recruits, "we don't fight to conquer. We fight to protect. We fight so that every being in the galaxy can live free from fear." A young Vrex warrior raised his clawed hand. "Director Martinez, what if we encounter a species that will not listen to reason? What if they attack peaceful worlds?